How's it going, guys? It's Bastians Goofy. Why don't you hit that like button and also hit the subscribe button? Let's get into it.
So you talk about sort of transformation, how it comes from the inside. Do you think the prison system as it is today, and as you've experienced it, helps with that? And if not, how it could be improved?
I am not a fan of our prison system in America. They do not believe in rehabilitation. They believe in throwing you in prison and locking you up, and that's it. And it makes no sense. And I've had a lot of conversation with government officials, and I tell them, you put people in prison, they're around other inmates. You know, I used to laugh. Inmates used to come to me and they say, Michael, that committed crimes, and they say, when I was in there, you know, I know how to not get caught next time. I said, really? How did you learn that? Everybody else in here got caught. How did you figure out not to get caught, right? But you put a person in prison, you give them an excessive amount of time. I mean, they give out time in the United States. It's ridiculous. And then they expect you to go through that and come out and be a productive member of society. And it just doesn't work. And I tell them, if you're going to do that, just lock people up and don't ever let them out. Because what you're doing, you're creating another problem for society, because they come out, they can't get a job, they have no skills, nobody will hire them because of their background, and you expect them to assimilate back into society and not be a problem. I said, it doesn't make sense. You have to rehabilitate people. Yes, they should be punished, okay? You commit a crime, there's consequences. But rehabilitation has got to be part of it, and it's not in the mind frame of our political system. You know, I heard once, when I was in prison, some politician out of nowhere created this idea that prison systems were creating super criminals. Why? Because of the weight rooms. Because they would go in there and they would lift weights and they'd come out and become super criminals. They had zero evidence of that. You know, it's like they were almost going to put on a cape and become Supermen. They had no evidence of that. They had no prior crimes that any super criminal had committed. But it sounded real good, and it got the guy reelected. So what happens, he passes a bill that all the weight rooms had to be taken out of the prison. Well, the warden and all the guards went crazy, because it's one place that inmates go and they relieve some pressure, and they get tired and they go to sleep. Prison guards and the warden, all they want is peace in the prison. They don't care what you bring in, as long as it doesn't cause any problems. But until today, in a federal system, when a piece of equipment breaks, they're not allowed to replace it. The wardens fought back, and so they didn't take all the weight rooms out, but they're not allowed to put them in the new prisons. And it's terrible. So, and it's all part of this rehabilitation idea. So I tell, I don't think it'll change, but I hear in some states it is starting to change, that they do believe that rehabilitation has to be part of the prison experience, and hopefully that'll happen. I happened to speak in, what prison was that here in London? Pennington, or I forget the name, Pentonville or something like that. Pentonville, yeah. I'll do a few more prisons here. It's part of what I do. I like to do that. But hopefully rehabilitation is in the mindset of our government and our political figures, because it's important for all of us. Hard on crime, and they say, well, excuse me, I have 5 daughters and I have a wife, and when they walk down the streets, I want to make sure they're safe. So I'm just as tough on crime and criminals as anybody else. I was one, so I know what they're supposed to have. But there's also another side to that, and you got to be practical about it. Society for the future.
Yeah, at the back.